guys! Today we are going to be doing a couple more looks with the Waiting Room palette from Melt Cosmetics. I did do a video with the full collection doing swatches and all of that stuff, and I did a look combining the two palettes. So for today's video, we are just going to be focusing on this palette. If you somehow haven't seen this, if you've been living under a rock for some reason, here's what the palette looks like. Beautiful, dark, kind of gray, red, and black color story. Very interested to try to create some looks with this on its own. If my eyes are looking a little bit rough, it's because I just filmed a look with something else and I took the look off. And now I'm going to film with this, so just if you're wondering, that's why. I was also wearing this lipstick in my other video that I filmed. This is from the collection. It is the red one. This is in the shade Miss Argentina, and this is such a beautiful lipstick. Honestly, I'm obsessed with this. This looks so good. It looks so nice on the lips. It goes on very much like a matte lipstick, but it's very comfortable. It reminds me honestly a lot of the MAC lipsticks, and I love those. So far, very impressed by those. I wanted to show you this before I took this off because I do want to wear one of the liquid lipsticks, the metallic one. So I thought I could pop on this one. This is the dark kind of purpley black one. I think that could be quite interesting. So what I'm going to do before we get into the eye look is I'm going to take off this lipstick and put this on so you can see what this looks like. I definitely wish I had used a black lip liner or something underneath, but I think this looks really, really nice. I love the color of this. I love how it's definitely going to dry down matte. And yeah, I really like this a lot, and I think that this is going to go very nicely with this look that we have going on here. Not sure what I want to do today, but I definitely want to use some of these red mattes because I'm always curious about red mattes and I want to see how they perform. I want to play a bit more with this black as well. I did use the black in my first impression and it did have quite a bit of fallout. I also used this shade, which I found to be a little bit on the textured and flaky side, but it did make for a really nice look. So may or may not use that today. Maybe I'll focus more on the kind of red shades. I think that's going to be the plan. So while I think about what to do, I'm going to prime with my Natasha Denona eyeshadow base. So I'm thinking what I want to do is I want to do the red crease. I'm going to use the red as my transition shade, deepen it up with the black, and then underneath my eye, I want to use one of these grays along with the black. And then maybe I'll use one of these eyeliners to do an eyeliner with on top, maybe the gray. Not sure how that is going to work though, but maybe we'll try to like pull this into a look somehow because I do want to use these eyeliners. But let's start with the shade, which is called Obituary. Going to use the small blending brush that came with the set. I really like this brush. Let me make sure I tap this off a little bit. Gonna start just by packing this into my crease quite low down. I do find that with Melt mattes, they always appear darker on the eye than they do in the pan. So definitely don't want to go too crazy with them right off the bat, which saying that I'm just packing on a ton of eyeshadow here. But I definitely wouldn't say that this was red. I do wish that there was a true red matte in this palette and not like a true red shimmer, because it would be really fun to be able to do like an all red look without having to do an all shimmer look. And I just prefer having mattes in my crease, but this is extremely pigmented. It seems to be the same formula as the purple that I used in the other palette. And if you're wondering if that purple stains, it stains like, I don't even want to tell you how much that stains. It's one of the worst staining shadows that I think I've ever tried. I honestly don't really care if something stains. It's not like a concern for me, but if you don't like your shadow staining, you might want to stay away from those purples because those were rough. Like I couldn't get them off even double cleansing, and even in the morning I still had staining left. So just wanted to put that out there. This is insanely pigmented. I do wish that there was a lighter shade to blend this out with, and I rarely say that because usually I'm like, I just want dark mattes, but I do like having mid-tone mattes to go with dark tone mattes. So personal preference, I would like for there to be a lighter red matte in this palette. That would have been really nice. So now that I have kind of the crease part down, I'm going to completely wipe off my brush here and make sure I don't have anything left on it. And I'm just going to start blending this out by using small circular motions around the edges until the edges are blended. So I feel like I have a pretty good edge on the shadow now. I'm going to go in with a little bit more and just really intensify that right in my crease where it is that I want the most depth. Like, I don't know how Melt does dark colorful mattes as good as they do because they're always spectacular. Like, this blended out really well and it looks very nice. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go into the gray here, and I'm going to use the lightest of the gray. This one is called Shrunken Head. And I'm going to take that on the smudging brush and I'm just going to start smudging that underneath my eye. Again, very, very pigmented. That's a cool color of gray though. Like I feel like you can have different tones of gray. Like you can really have like bluish grays, you can have greenish grays, you can have gray grays. And I feel like this is this a true gray? I kind of feel like it is. Just gonna take the largest of the blending brushes here and I'm just gonna use the edge of that to blend out with. And I'm going to use another brush for the black. I'm going to go into one of my Mitchell brushes, or made by Mitchell, I should say. This is the number 2 brush. I should have a video up using these already, so I will link that in the corner if you want to check it out. But I'm going into the black and I'm going to place that in the outer corner of my eye. I want to be a little bit more careful this time because the first time I used it, I got quite a bit of fallout with this. So just want to take this a bit slower today. I am still getting quite a bit of fallout though, which could be my fault, but hopefully I'll be able to wipe this away quite easily. But I do really like this black except for the fallout. It's blending out very nicely and it's really nice and pigmented. Just taking that in the outer corner of my eye and blending it into my crease. Yeah, it's not the kind of black that just wipes away, which is quite annoying. I hate when that happens. I'm going to powder a little bit under my eye just so I don't get a bunch of fallout on the other side as well. And I'm going to use my trustworthy Rephr number 13 because I just don't tend to get a lot of fallout when I use this brush because it's just a lot denser. And I can really pack on the color where it is that I want it to be before I start blending it out. Taking a little bit of this black just on the outer portion of my lower lash line to just connect the outer corner. Taking a little bit more of the red matte as well, and I'm just going to gently run that over the edge here to just bring in that color a bit more. I'm just going to bring it a little bit higher up on the outer portion here. Also just taking a clean brush and I'm just going to work on the blend a little bit extra because I feel like I always have a hard time like blending out shadow in the inner corner of my eye for some reason. So I think that is better. Do I still have fallout? I definitely have fallout still with that black. That is very annoying. I'm gonna have to probably try to fix that later, but that's not looking all that great. Let's see, what do I want to do on my lid? I think I just want to take this shade here, which is called Sod Girl. I'm first going to put down some of my NYX glitter primer just all over where I want that shimmer shadow to be, just to make sure it really pops. And then with the same brush, I'm going to dip into the shadow and I'm just going to basically put it all over my lid here. That is really pretty. Ooh, I wish that there was a matte in this color to go along with this. That would have been so nice. It's definitely not the most metallic shadow. It's more of a pretty basic shimmer. It doesn't have any like glitter particles or anything like that in it, but it is really, really nice. I wouldn't call it red. It definitely leans pink. It's more of a magenta shimmer. I am starting to doubt my lipstick choice with this though, because I'm not sure if this really goes with it anymore. I'm gonna take a little bit of the Dante's Inferno shade as well and just kind of use that to mix the outer corner together with the one that I just put down. I'm just going to take that right over the edge here. Okay, so these aren't too different in tone, they're just different in color, but that's fine. I'll at least get to try this color as well. These are layering very nicely together. They're looking really nice next to each other. Oh, I really like that. Okay, I'm not mad. I'm going to take a little bit more of the black and just make sure that the outer corner shade is blended into it. And I think just to tie my lip together with the eyes, I'm going to use the purple liner. I will say this isn't supposed to be used on your eyes, but I'm going to do it anyway because I bought this to use as an eyeliner, so if it stains, it stains. This one feels very similar to the blue melt liner that I had. This is from the Amor Eterno collection. This is also more of a... It kind of looks like it's metallic in the pot itself, but it's really not metallic, and the purple one looks to be exactly the same. So let me go ahead and see what this one looks like on the eye. So I'm just gonna draw a bit of a thick line here. I'm not gonna do a wing because I do have hooded eyes, and I just Wings don't look good on me because they just get really wonky unless I do a huge wing like I did in my first impression video. It is a little bit sheer, so it probably needs 2 layers to be completely built up. So I'm just gonna do 1 layer first on each eye, and then I'll go in with a little bit more over the top. It's definitely the same texture as the blue one that I have, and it's very, very nice and creamy. Like I said, not 100% opaque first time you go over it, but I'm just gonna build it up now, and it's looking very nice. I'm just gonna sit here and wait for this to dry a bit, and then I'm going to finish off my eyes, and I will come back and I will show you the look. Okay, so here's the completed look, and it's definitely very dark, very grungy. Not sure how I feel about it. I've never done a look like this before, and I think that the color combinations in this palette are quite unique and not something that I've really ever seen before paired together. I also put a little bit of this matte sandworm shade in my inner corner just because I wanted a little bit of brightness, and I didn't want to use this metallic because it's a little bit too metallic to be an inner corner shade for me. Let's see, what else did I do? I think that's all I did. I also used the lash curler, which it's a little big for my eyes, but I can definitely use it. And I also used the mascara, but I did have to layer another mascara over the top to get my desired result. But I do like this mascara. I don't think it's bad by any means. And I'm curious to see how it's going to kind of warm up after, you know, having been open for a while, because usually with mascaras, I like for them to be like 2 weeks old before they really start to like become really, really nice. So I think that's gonna be it for look number 1. I do really like this lipstick, I gotta say. This is beautiful, and I feel like the longer I wear it, the more the sparkles kind of come out, and I like that. So let's go ahead and do the second look. Okay, look number 2. So I think my plan for today is that I want to do a halo eye, and what I want to do is I want to work with this row here on my top lid and then probably do some red smoked out underneath my eye. I'm thinking even this shimmery red maybe. I think that could be kind of fun because I do want both of these looks to be quite different. And I feel like if I go in with like reds on my top lid again, it's just going to end up looking quite similar. So I think that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I don't remember which ones of these grays I used in my first look. I'm thinking I used Shrunken Head, so maybe I will use Tombstone today. Is that how you say that word? I always get that word wrong. I don't know why. But I think I'm going to use that as my transition shade, and then I will deepen up the outer corners with black. So I'm going to go ahead and put this into my crease. This is going to be quite dark, as you can probably see. So I'm going to take my time with this and just make sure that this doesn't get completely out of hand, which I'm sure it will anyway, knowing myself. But I'm going to try to just take this kind of slow. So I'm using a very small brush here. This is my, of course, Rephr number 13 brush. Just packing this on right in my crease where I want the shadow to be. And I am having a little bit of fallout with this, despite really just pressing this on and not doing a lot of blending, but I do have a little bit of fallout. So once I'm done with this color, I'm gonna put down some powder underneath my eyes because I'm very scared of that black, because every time I've used a black, I've had quite a bit of fallout. So I don't love this black, but let me try to at least not get it all over my face today. So I have most of the pigment down where it is that I want it to be. I'm just gonna use the same brush and just really use that to blend out the edge here. I'm just gonna really take my time, use small circular motions all the way around. If I do need to go in with a little bit more color, I will, but for the most part, I'm gonna try to just work with what is already on my eye and just kind of pressing that upwards and using it to blend it out on its own here. So this is looking about as blended as I'm able to get it right now. I see that the lines like in the inner portion of my crease are a little bit sharp, but I'm gonna leave it the way it is right now and we'll take care of that when I get to it. So let me go ahead and just take a little bit of loose setting powder and pack that underneath my eye. I'm gonna be quite heavy with this and just kind of leave this so that if I do have some fallout, the powder will catch it and I can just wipe it away. For my halo part, I'm going to switch to my Morphe E36, which is my favorite to use for halo eyes. And I'm again going to grab the black shade, and I'm going to start building that up in the inner and the outer corner of my lid. I'm not going to take this through in the middle of my lid. I prefer keeping my halo eyes kind of open in the middle, so I'm just going to use it in the inner and the outer corner. Just kind of taking it slow here and using a very small brush. As you can see, I find that I can just be very precise when I do this, and I definitely have fallout with this despite using a very small brush and not really blending a lot. So this shadow does have a lot of fallout, just something to keep in mind if you are like me and you like to do your face first. maybe be a little bit careful when you're using this black. Just doing the same thing in the inner corner of my eye. Halo eyes for me is just one of those things that I need to be very patient with, especially when working with very dark shadows. I just need to take my time and be very precise with it and make sure that both sides end up looking the same. Now let's go in with the lid shade. I'm going to use the silver shimmer here, and I'm not going to use any glitter primer with this today because I found when I did that, it just looked extremely textured. So I'm just going to pick it up on a brush. It's very, very flaky and dry. So I am going to spray this just to make sure that I don't get this one all over my face here. And I'm using my Morphe E142 to apply this with. Just going to put that in the middle where I don't have any shadow and just kind of blend it into these sides here. I'm still having a little bit of fallout with the shade as well, just something to keep in mind. So I think this is where I'm going to leave it. Let me go ahead and just wipe away all of this powder that I have here. And that definitely caught all of the fallout, which is great because I am sick of having black on my face. So for my last step here, I'm gonna go into the shade called Lydia. This is a shimmer. I don't usually like to use shimmers on my lower lash line, but just because I haven't used the shade yet and I do want to really showcase it because it is the only like true red in this palette, I am going to use this underneath my eye. This is much more of a smooth formula. This is not at all the same as that silver. This is more of a, I don't want to say satin, but it's more of a just basic shimmer. Just gonna go ahead and really smudge this underneath my eye. I did spray that like you saw just because I want to make sure that I get this nice and intense. And I think that this is going to be blended out very nicely as well. I'm leaving a little bit of room just in my inner corner because I think I'm gonna use that same inner corner shade that I used last time, the very kind of light gray matte. I think that would be fun. Actually, I really like that. I wasn't sure I would like having the shimmer underneath my eye, but I'm kind of living for this. I feel like this really changed up the look. That's kind of cool. I'm gonna really go ahead and blow this out because I want this to be very, very red. So I really like this. I wasn't sure, like I said, if this would like work, but I feel like it does. So I'm gonna take the shade Sandworm and I'm just gonna pop a little bit of that in my inner corner as my inner corner highlight. And I really like this shade for this purpose. It is so nice and pigmented and bright. And I feel like this really goes well with like the rest of the color story here. I love that they put this into the palette. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish off. I will probably pair it with one of the lipsticks from the collection if I feel like any of them goes with it. I'm thinking maybe this purple metallic lip could be fun. So let me go ahead and finish off, gather my thoughts. I will get the Melt Muerte palette as well and we can compare some of these reds because I did get a couple of requests to do that. So hold tight, I'll be right back. Okay, so this is the completed look and I'm kind of obsessed with this. I think this looks so cool. And I also I love this lipstick. This lipstick is everything. Look at this. Like, do you see how metallic that is? It is so cool. And this is supposedly one of those that stain and leave a really nice pink stain after. So I'm excited to wear this and like just see how it wears and like what the staining is going to be like. This is the one in the shade It's Showtime. I love this. This is beautiful. So as for let's do some swatches before I tell you like my thoughts on this palette, I guess. So I want to swatch basically the mattes side by side. So we have two mattes here and I suspect that these are going to be exactly the same as the two mattes that are right here in the Muerte palette because they look so similar. I'll swatch the Pure Red for you here as well. So I'm just gonna go 1, 2, 3. Give those some quick swatches on my arm here and then we'll see what the other ones from the Waiting Room palette is going to look like side by side. And then I'm gonna grab the shade here as well as this one. And we will see if there is a big difference. A little bit in the tones, I would say. Man, they look so similar. Like, can you even see a difference on camera? I feel like if you have one palette, you don't need the other one if these are the tones that you're looking for. Man, those are extremely similar. I can't even really like tell you what the differences are. Like, there are slight differences in the undertones. I personally wish that there was a Pure Red in the Waiting Room palette. I feel like this should have been swapped out with either one of the grays or one of these two because they're just so similar. I just wish for myself personally that there would be a little bit more variety in these colors because All of these are, I don't want to say they're the same. They're definitely not the same. Like, there are differences in the tones in these, but there could have been so many things you could do with this palette if you just had a little bit more of a difference in the tones in them. And I also feel like these two are almost a little bit too similar to really warrant being in the palette, because if you're going to use one of them, it's going to look the same as the other one on the eye. I mean, I didn't really see a difference when I used them. The black, like I said, does have a lot of fallout. If that is not something that bothers you, you're probably going to love it. It's very nice and pigmented. It's easy to work with. It's just the fallout that bothers me a little bit. The same goes for this shimmer here. This shimmer is a little bit too, for my liking, too textured, and it also has a lot of fallout. It's very crumbly, it's very flaky, it's very dry. So I don't love that formula personally. All of these other ones, the top row, I really like all of these shades. I have no problem at all with the formula of them. I just wish that the tones were a little bit different. So for me, I would say that I like having this palette more for the theme and like for the collection purpose more than I like it as a palette. And I don't think that I'm going to reach for this palette as a standalone palette ever again. I'm probably going to be using this palette along with other things because I think that it's just going to be a way for me to get more use out of it and just to be able to do more looks with this palette while still incorporating some of these shades, because a lot of these shades individually are so beautiful. It's just that there's only so much you can do with this palette, in my opinion. So I guess that's going to be my thoughts. I mean, it's up to you whether or not you feel like this is too repetitive and if this is something that you need in your collection. I'm just here to kind of give you my thought, and I hope that you can make up your own opinion because you know your own preferences more than I do. And I think that if you want this palette, if you really like Beetlejuice, I don't think that you'll be upset to have it because, like I said, the quality of the palette is fine. I just have a couple of things that I'd like to nitpick about, but that's basically all I'm going to say for that. The eyeliner that I tried in my first look, I absolutely love it. I think it performed very nicely. It stayed on all day. I didn't have any problems with transferring or anything like that, so if you've been looking at the liners, I would definitely say go for them. I am going to use the other two liners that I haven't used yet in my next video where I do 2 looks with the Recently Deceased palette because I just feel like those liners are going to go better with that palette, so that's why I just didn't use it with this palette. So yeah, my next video is probably going to be the 2 look video with the other palettes. So if you want to see that, you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to see some other multiple look videos that I have on my channel, I'll put my playlist up on the screen. And hopefully I will see you all in my next video. Bye.